Okay, well, since there were a couple questions about trimming plants, and I am home early, and whoo, I don't have to work tomorrow, I decided to go ahead and take a stab of doing a couple plant trimmings. I've got a couple different varieties of plants in here. I've got my crypts, which would be the rooted plants. I have bulb plants like the Vivacious here. My little lace plants that are coming up so beautifully. My big lace plant that's not looking quite so hot. I've got the rhizomes, you can see back there. And I have, there she is, my stem plant. And yeah, the boogers are pulling them out again. So I figured I would show you guys how I trim my plants, at least. I don't usually trim the crypts, but if I was going to trim a crypt, I would go all the way down to the base of the plant and cut the leaf off there. For example, this isn't a crypt, but it's closely related. It's like a cross between Anubis and a crypt. So I'd go as far down as I could and trim it off. It's got a little bit of too much the blackbeard algae on it. Same with this. I just let them float up. I would do the same thing with the lotus plants, which can be a little bit more difficult because of the jungle that I have here. I try to follow, like if I'm going to try, I usually do this two-handed, but it's kind of hard to do it with the camera in one hand. But I will try, like I want to get this guy right up here. This one growing all the way onto the top. I'm going to try to get him. And what I want to try to do is I want to try to gently nudge everything out of the way and follow his stem down as far as I can and snip it as close to the base of the plant as I can. And you can see right there, I got him. Same thing if I was going to be trimming the Anubis, I'd go all the way down to the base of the rhizome and trim right there. Now you can see this is my Nana. It's got a particularly bad blackbeard algae, so I'm going to trim a few more plants on it, leaves on it, since my algae eaters are failing a little bit. But if I wanted to propagate this, you can see it is a very, very big rhizome. If I wanted to, and I probably will when I move, let me lift them up a little bit and show you all of her roots. I could cut this into 1, 2, 3, 4, probably at least 6 plants, because she goes all the way back down here to my base. I'm not going to do it obviously now because I don't have anywhere to attach it. And the more of these leaves that I cut off, the more leaves are going to come back to fill its place. And I might, when I do a water change again, just go ahead and spray some hydrogen peroxide on her as well, because she's pretty badly covered. Something like this, which is my lace leaf. Again, I would follow all the way down to the base of the plant and clip it. And this is the only stem plant that I have left in here. If I was going to be ready to trim him, what I would do is I would come up here to a portion where I wanted to cut him off. Now, if I wanted to let him keep going, I could let him keep going up mid-tank. If I want to keep him short, then I would cut him off here. And I just cut the top portion off, right there, and then I would replant it. Of course, well, here, I'll just go ahead and do that. Let's take that away from all that light. And when I'm going to replant this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the bottom leaves off. Which again is a little hard to do one-handed. Just so that it has a clean stem right there. And then I would put that back in the substrate. And I usually use tweezers for it just because my arms aren't long enough, even when I'm standing on a little step up, to get it in the ground. But I'll let that float right now in the tank. So I hope that helped you guys, those of you who had questions with trimming plants. My shrimp really like it when I trim plants. They find all sorts of goodies floating around them. Something like my lace plant right here is going to be a lot more difficult. I'm going to have to really dig deep to try to find the stem. And the only reason I like to cut them all the way at the base is because if you cut them off, see, I would cut it off right here at the top. Let's find the scissors, there we go. What's going to wind up happening is that slowly the stem is going to start to rot, going back to the base. And eventually it's not going to look very pretty, and it's going to add a lot of nitrates to my tank that I'm not going to want. I do have 2 mystery snails in here somewhere, and they may eventually find it when it's rotting enough, but probably if they have their pick between leftover food and rotting plants, they're going to pick the food instead. So, but if you guys have any questions or I wasn't clear enough, which I usually am, just send me a reply.